Welcome back to The Life with the Browns. The sister wives family has just been rocked by another explosive revelation, and this time, the shockwave lands squarely at the feet of Robyn Brown. What's come to light isn't just a misunderstanding or a miscommunication. It's an alleged lie so calculated and deliberate that even Christine Brown, a woman who lived inside this family for decades, had no idea she'd been deceived for years. This bombshell didn't come from a tabloid or a leaked court document. It came straight from the source, during a recent Patreon live stream hosted by McKelti Brown, alongside her mother Christine and her husband David. What started as a casual, warm conversation about family traditions quickly spiraled into one of the most revealing and heartbreaking moments in sister wives history. The topic that opened the door? The claddagh rings. For longtime fans, these rings were always presented as a sweet, symbolic tradition. Cody Brown supposedly gave each of his daughters a claddagh ring when they reached a certain age, a token of love, belonging, and fatherly pride. On the surface, it was framed as a meaningful rite of passage. But as McKelti began to speak, it became painfully clear that for her, that tradition wasn't about love at all. It was about rejection. During the live stream, McKelti revealed something that left viewers absolutely stunned. She never received a claddagh ring from her father. Not at 9. Not at 13. Not ever. Instead, after years of asking, waiting, and being told she had to earn it, she finally gave up. And in an act that's both heartbreaking and powerful, she went online and bought her own ring off Craigslist for about $50. She wore that because, according to what was revealed, Robyn Brown allegedly told her that Cody gave McKelti the ring. Let that sink in. Christine believed, for years, that her daughter had received this symbol of love and inclusion, when in reality, McKelti had been quietly enduring years of emotional manipulation, conditional affection, and eventual resignation. The truth hit Christine in real time, live in front of an audience, and the silence that followed spoke louder than any accusation ever could. This wasn't just a lie about jewelry. It was a lie that protected Cody's image, erased McKelti's pain, and maintained the illusion of a fair, united family. So the questions start piling up fast. Why would Robyn lie about something so specific? Why tell Christine that Cody gave the ring when he clearly didn't? Was it about shielding Cody from accountability? Was it about preserving the happy family narrative at all costs? Or was it part of a much larger pattern of manipulation happening quietly behind the scenes? Whatever the motive, one thing is now painfully clear. Christine was kept in the dark, and that darkness was allegedly maintained by Robyn herself. To truly understand how devastating this is, you have to go back to the beginning of McKelti's story. This wasn't about material things. It was about a young girl desperately trying to earn love from a father who treated affection like a reward, something you only received if you behaved exactly the way he wanted. McKelti shared that she begged repeatedly for her ring, watching as her sisters received theirs while she was left waiting, questioning herself, wondering what she had done wrong. The claddagh ring was supposed to be given around a certain age, somewhere between 9 and 13. A milestone, a confirmation that you mattered. But for McKelti, that moment never came. She pushed boundaries. She asked questions. She refused to blindly accept everything her father said simply because he said it. And for that crime, McKelti paid a price no child should ever have to pay. She was punished through exclusion, cut out of a family tradition that should have been her birthright, not a reward dangled just out of reach. Cody Brown made one thing painfully clear to her over time. His love and approval were conditional. McKelti had to behave better, act better, become quieter, more agreeable, more compliant. She had to prove she was worthy of receiving what her sisters were given freely, without question. Imagine being a teenager in Las Vegas, asking her father for the 12th time whether you'll finally get your claddagh ring. Imagine hearing not yet, or wait, or worse, you need to earn it. That isn't discipline. That isn't parenting. That is emotional manipulation. Cody wasn't teaching McKelti responsibility or respect. He was wielding his affection like a weapon, using it to control her behavior and punish her for not conforming to the version of a daughter he wanted. Love became leverage. Approval became currency. And it didn't stop with the ring. During the stream, McKelti also shared that she once asked about having a bat mitzvah, another meaningful milestone she hoped to experience. Once again, she was shut down. No discussion.
No compromise.
Just another door slammed closed. The pattern couldn't be clearer. Cody routinely withheld normal family experiences and rites of passage from McKelti, not because she'd done something wrong, but because of who she was. Her personality, her independence, her refusal to be perfectly obedient. This was never about life lessons. This was about power and control. McKelti went on to explain something even more disturbing. She said there was a time when Cody loved his children unconditionally, when they were younger, smaller, easier to control. But as they grew older, his love shifted. It became conditional, based on how much they respected him, how much they deferred to him, and how much of themselves they were willing to give up to please him. That admission is chilling. It suggests that Cody's affection isn't rooted in genuine parental love at all, but in his need for admiration, obedience, and ego validation. If you didn't serve Cody's emotional needs, you didn't earn his love. And McKelti learned that lesson in the most painful way possible. After years of asking, after years of waiting, after years of being told she wasn't ready, wasn't good enough, wasn't worthy yet, McKelti finally broke. She was done waiting for her father to decide. She deserved something that should have been given freely. She was done playing Cody's twisted game, earning love that should never have required conditions in the first place. So she took matters into her own hands. Picture this moment. A teenage girl, hurt and frustrated, sitting alone and scrolling through. That's unforgivable. And watching the moment Christine discovered the truth in real time during that Patreon stream was absolutely devastating. You could hear it in her voice, the shock, the disbelief, the instant realization that she had been lied to for years about something deeply personal involving her own child. This wasn't gossip. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was about her daughter's pain, and Christine had been kept completely in the dark. When McKelti casually mentioned that she had bought her own ring, Christine didn't react with anger at first. She reacted with confusion. Genuine, stunned confusion. Because in her mind, that wasn't how the story went. Christine truly believed McKelti had received her claddagh ring from Cody, because that's exactly what Robyn had told her. Christine said it plainly live on the stream. "Robyn told me that your dad got you a ring." Those words hung in the air like an accusation. And McKelti's response was just as plain. "Nope. I bought my own." That was it. No drama. No long explanation. Just the truth, simple, blunt, and devastating. In that moment, it became painfully clear that an entire story had been fabricated, and Christine had believed it without question. Why wouldn't she? Why would a sister-wife lie about something like that? About a child? About a moment that mattered? That's the question everyone is asking now.
Why?
Why would Robyn lie about something so specific and so easily disproven? What possible reason could she have had to tell Christine that Cody gave McKelti the ring when he clearly didn't? Some fans believe Robyn was trying to protect Cody's image. By telling Christine that the ring had been given, she erased evidence of Cody's cruelty and painted him as a loving father who honored traditions equally. If Christine had known the truth, she might have confronted Cody. She might have demanded answers. She might have refused to stay silent. Others believe Robyn was trying to preserve the illusion of a happy, functional plural family. Because if Christine discovered that Cody was withholding love and milestones from her daughter as punishment, it would have been another crack in the facade, another sign that this family was broken long before the cameras stopped rolling. Robyn has long positioned herself as the so-called keeper of the family, the one trying to hold everything together. Maybe she convinced herself that lying about the ring was a small price to pay to keep the peace. But there's a darker possibility that many fans are now considering. What if Robyn lied to isolate McKelti?
Think about it.
If Christine believed everything was fine, if she believed McKelti had received the ring, then she wouldn't push back. She wouldn't advocate harder. She wouldn't question Cody's behavior or demand better for her daughter. Robyn's alleged lie kept Christine unaware of the emotional abuse McKelti was enduring. That isn't just about protecting Cody. That's about control. Whatever Robyn's motivation was, the damage is undeniable. Christine spent years believing a false narrative about her own child. McKelti spent those same years carrying rejection and pain alone, without her mother fully understanding what was happening. And now that the truth is finally out, the entire Sister Wives fandom is asking the same unsettling question. If Robyn could lie about this, what else has she lied about? Because this isn't the first time Robyn Brown has been accused of manipulating narratives. Over the past several months, more and more family members have begun speaking out, quietly at first and then more boldly, painting a picture of someone who may have been orchestrating the family storyline for years, carefully controlling what people knew and what they believed. The claddagh ring revelation doesn't stand alone. It fits neatly into a disturbing pattern that's becoming harder and harder to ignore. Just recently, Maddie Brown Brush made headlines after posting on social media and calling Robyn the biggest liar in the family. That's not a casual accusation. That's a bold statement coming from someone who grew up inside this plural marriage, someone who witnessed decades of family dynamics from the inside. Maddie didn't spell out every detail. She didn't need to. The fact that she felt compelled to say it publicly speaks volumes. This isn't about small fibs or innocent misunderstandings. Fans have long pointed out moments where Robyn's version of events didn't line up with what other family members remembered. Conflicting stories about the move to Flagstaff. Discrepancies about why certain wives were excluded from major decisions. Financial explanations that never quite added up. Every time questions were raised, Robyn had an answer ready, often casting herself as the misunderstood victim, the one just trying to hold the family together while everyone else misunderstood her intentions. And then there's the nanny situation during the pandemic. While other family members were isolating, following strict rules, and being kept away from their own children and grandchildren, Robyn had a nanny coming into her home regularly. When questioned, the explanations were confusing, shifting, and often contradictory, raising even more doubts about transparency and honesty. Taken alone, each incident might be brushed off, but together, they paint a picture that's becoming impossible to ignore. And now, with something as personal and painful as McKelti's claddagh ring exposed, the narrative Robyn helped build is starting to collapse, piece by piece, lie by lie. Robyn claimed the nanny was essential. She insisted she wasn't really seeing other people. She said the rules were being followed. But Christine and Janelle saw something very different. What they saw was a glaring double standard. One set of rules for Robyn and Cody, and another set for everyone else. While the rest of the family isolated, missed milestones, and were kept away from their own children and grandchildren, Robyn's household somehow operated under a different reality. And that double standard didn't stop there. Then came the financial narrative. For years, Robyn portrayed herself and her children as being in the same struggle as the rest of the family, scraping by, making sacrifices, just trying to survive. But the visuals never quite matched the story. Somehow, Robyn ended up living in a $1 million mansion, while Christine was struggling to afford a place of her own. Somehow, Robyn had elaborate seasonal decorations, expensive furniture, and designer jewelry purchased by Cody, luxuries that didn't align with the poverty narrative she was selling to both the family and the audience. That disconnect hasn't gone unnoticed. Insiders and former friends of the family have quietly whispered for years about Robyn's tendency to rewrite history in ways that always seem to benefit her. Stories shift over time. Motivations get reframed. Events that multiple people remember one way suddenly get retold in a completely different light. It's not just revisionism, it's gaslighting on a family-wide scale. And the claddagh ring lie fits perfectly into that disturbing pattern. When you step back and look at all of these incidents together, a clear picture begins to form. This isn't random confusion. This looks like someone who's been carefully constructing a false reality for years, and now, that reality is finally starting to crumble. One of the most puzzling and emotionally complex parts of this entire revelation is McKelti's journey. For a long time, she was seen as Robyn and Cody's most loyal defender. She publicly stood up for her father. She excused his behavior. She gave him the benefit of the doubt even when other siblings were pulling away. Fans watched in frustration as McKelti minimized Cody's failures and maintained a relationship with him long after others had reached their breaking point. So the question everyone is asking now is simple, but heartbreaking.
Why?
Why did she defend him for so long? The answer may be far more painful than anyone wants to admit. McKelti's loyalty may have been rooted in that same desperate need for approval that drove her to beg for a claddagh ring year after year. Children who grow up with conditional love often become their parents' strongest defenders, not because the parent deserves it, but because the child is still hoping, still believing, still waiting for the moment when loyalty finally earns them love. McKelti may have spent years protecting Cody because part of her was still that little girl, hoping her father would finally see her value. There's also the very real possibility that McKelti genuinely believed the narrative Robyn and Cody were spinning. If Robyn was willing to lie to Christine about the ring, who knows what version of events McKelti herself was fed? She may have been told stories that framed Cody as misunderstood, overwhelmed, and unfairly criticized. She may have been led to believe that siblings who walked away were being dramatic or unreasonable, because manipulation works best when the person being manipulated doesn't realize it's happening. But something changed. Maybe it was Christine leaving. Watching her mother finally choose herself, finally walk away from a marriage that was slowly destroying her, may have given McKelti permission to look at her own relationship with her father differently. Seeing how much lighter Christine became after leaving, how much happier, freer, and more confident, can be eye-opening. Sometimes it takes watching someone else break the cycle before you realize you're trapped in one. McKelti herself admitted during the stream that reading Christine's book opened her eyes. That's a powerful statement. Christine's memoir clearly revealed truths McKelti either didn't fully know or hadn't allowed herself to process. Reading her mother's account of emotional neglect, manipulation, and conditional love likely connected that had been floating just out of reach for years. Suddenly, everything made sense. The withheld ring, the constant need to prove herself, the feeling of never being quite good enough. They weren't isolated moments. They were part of a larger, deeply entrenched pattern. And now McKelti is done. Done protecting her father. Done making excuses. Done pretending his behavior was acceptable. The fact that she's willing to share something as painful as the claddagh ring story publicly, on her own Patreon, shows just how far she's come. She's no longer afraid of his reaction. No longer desperate for his approval. She's found her voice, and she's finally using it. And while McKelti shared her story, David provided a powerful contrast that exposed just how warped Cody's parenting philosophy really is. Throughout the conversation, David kept returning to one simple truth, one that genuinely seemed to baffle him. Children should never have to earn their father's love. He said it repeatedly, not as a soundbite, but as a deeply held belief. Kids are worthy of unconditional love simply because they exist. Simply because they're your children. David didn't just make one comment and move on. He went on what can only be described as a heartfelt mantra about fatherhood. He spoke about how no matter how old his kids get, they will always be his kids. How he wants to spend time with them. How his love isn't dependent on obedience, respect levels, or whether they serve his needs. He loves them because they're his. Period. End of story. Every word David spoke was a direct contradiction to everything Cody Brown has publicly said about parenting. Where Cody has claimed his children are adults and he doesn't have to be nice to them anymore, David emphasized that children are forever. Where Cody insists his adult kids should come to him and serve him if they want a relationship, David talked about pursuing his children, making the effort, prioritizing connection. Where Cody demands respect as a prerequisite for love, David gives love freely, without conditions. The fact that David felt compelled to speak so passionately says everything about how deeply the claddagh ring story affected him. As a father, the idea of telling a child they had to earn a family tradition or behave a certain way to deserve love was unthinkable to him. His reaction wasn't dramatic. It was normal. It was the reaction of a healthy parent hearing about something deeply abnormal and damaging. And as Christine sat there listening to her husband speak about unconditional love, you can't help but wonder what was going through her mind, how many moments from her past suddenly made sense, and how deeply she must have felt the weight of everything she and her children were finally brave enough to confront. She spent decades watching Cody withhold affection from their children. Decades watching him play favorites, reward obedience, and punish independence. She watched him slowly destroy his relationships with his kids through his obsession with control, admiration, and loyalty tests.
And now,
She's married to a man who represents everything Cody should have been, but never was. David's words during that stream weren't just comforting for McKelti. They were almost certainly deeply validating for Christine, too. Every sentence about unconditional love, every comment about showing up for your kids, likely confirmed what Christine already knew in her bones, that leaving Cody was not just right, it was necessary. And while David never raised his voice or directly attacked Cody, he didn't need to. The contrast alone did all the damage. That said, he did throw a little shade, and it was beautifully subtle. At one point, David casually remarked that art only holds value if someone is actually willing to buy it. For anyone paying attention, that was a crystal-clear dig at Cody's infamous and wildly expensive art collection, the one Cody insists is a smart investment. It was understated, intelligent, and devastating. But David's most powerful contribution wasn't the shade. It was simply being himself, being a good father, being present, being loving. By doing that, he exposed just how deeply deficient Cody's version of parenting really is, without ever having to say Cody's name. And the shade didn't stop there. McKelti's Patreon stream turned into a quiet masterclass in passive-aggressive brilliance, especially when the conversation drifted to hobbies, specifically Legos and art. What sounded like harmless chatter quickly became one of the most savage segments of the entire stream. Christine and David shared that they've become obsessed with building Lego sets together. Big ones. Elaborate ones. Sets they assemble as a bonding activity. Christine casually mentioned that if you keep the original box and instruction manual, Legos actually increase in value. They become collectible. They get discontinued. And over time, people will pay more for them. That alone was an insightful observation about investing. But then David took it one step further. He calmly said that Legos almost always go up in value, but art is only worth what someone is willing to pay for it. The pause that followed was everything, because everyone knew exactly what he was talking about. Cody's art collection. The thousands and thousands of dollars Cody has spent on obscure pieces from unknown artists, art he proudly frames as investments. Cody genuinely believes he's made savvy financial decisions, convincing himself these pieces will one day be worth a fortune. But here's the reality. Cody didn't buy a Monet. He didn't invest in a Picasso. He didn't purchase works with historical or cultural significance. He bought random art from artists nobody has heard of. And David's point was brutally accurate. Art is only worth what someone is willing to pay. And spoiler alert, nobody is going to pay what Cody paid. When Cody's kids eventually try to sell those pieces one day, they'll likely be told they're essentially worthless. Decorative at best. Financial dead weight at worst. Christine and David didn't just make this point once. They circled back to it later, twisting the knife just a little deeper. Christine reiterated that art often loses value, while Legos do not. It was elegant, intentional shade, aimed directly at Cody's ego and his long history of terrible financial decisions. From the stagnant Coyote Pass land, to the designer jewelry with almost no resale value, to the art collection that exists purely to make Cody feel cultured and important. David's comments quietly exposed Cody as a man who thinks he's intelligent and strategic, when in reality, he's just throwing money at things that inflate his self-image. The shade was subtle enough to maintain plausible deniability, but obvious enough that fans caught every single dig. And now, with McKelti openly talking about lies and manipulation, with Christine free and thriving, with Maddie publicly calling Robyn the biggest liar in the family, The floodgates are officially open. The question is no longer if more secrets will come out. The question is how bad they're going to be. If Robyn could fabricate something as personal as a claddagh ring, what else has she lied about? Fans are already speculating about financial arrangements that were never fair, about preferential treatment, about why certain children were emotionally favored while others were quietly abandoned. There are growing theories that Robyn wielded far more control behind the scenes than viewers ever realized, pulling strings while Cody absorbed public backlash. Maddie's statement alone suggests there's far more waiting to be exposed. She wouldn't call Robyn the biggest liar in the family over one incident. She knows things. She's seen things. And insiders claim she's held back for years out of respect for siblings who are still trying to maintain relationships with Cody. But that restraint is fading. Leon Brown has been noticeably distant from both Cody and Robyn for years. While Leon hasn't gone fully public, their absence speaks volumes. Sources close to the family say Leon witnessed things in childhood that permanently shaped their view of both Cody and Robyn's influence over him. Robyn Brown, who already speaks with remarkable candor on her platforms, has hinted that there's much more beneath the surface. Fans believe she's been holding back out of consideration, but that may not last forever. This is how it happens. One person speaks. That gives courage to another. Then another. It's a domino effect of truth-telling, and Cody and Robyn can't stop it. They can't control the narrative anymore because too many independent voices are telling the same story. They can't silence their adult children. They can't spin their way out of consistent accounts of favoritism, manipulation, and emotional abuse. The truth is coming out whether they like it or not. So, what was Robyn's endgame with the ring lie? The more you analyze it, the darker it becomes. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't crossed wires. This was a deliberate fabrication told to a mother about her own daughter. The most likely explanation? Robyn was protecting Cody at all costs, shielding him from accountability, preventing confrontation, maintaining the illusion that he was a fair and loving father. But the darker possibility is impossible to ignore. What if Robyn wanted Christine to stay unaware? What if she wanted McKelti isolated from her mother's support? Because if Christine believed everything was fine, she wouldn't dig. She wouldn't question. She wouldn't intervene. And McKelti would continue suffering alone. Whatever the motivation, the damage is irreversible. The family is fractured beyond repair. Most of Cody's children are estranged or openly critical.
Christine is thriving.
Janelle has chosen independence. Mary has finally acknowledged the end. That leaves Cody and Robyn alone in their Flagstaff mansion, surrounded by expensive art losing value and a legacy of broken relationships they can't fix. The children they alienated aren't coming back. The lies are being exposed one by one. And the image they tried so hard to control is collapsing. This saga is far from over.
So what do you think?
Was Robyn protecting Cody, or was something more calculated going on? Drop your thoughts below. Hit like, make sure you're subscribed, because the truth keeps surfacing, and this family's secrets are finally being dragged into the light.